So you and I were just going over hardcore arguments about Shedeur Sanders. We'll get back into that coming up here a little bit later on. Also, around the AFC North coming up at 8 o'clock. I want to get to the phones as well. Today is a very big day. Kevin Stefanski speaks live at 9:30. We'll carry that press conference live. First day of Eagles joint practices. Day 1 of 2. They'll have Friday off. They'll play the preseason game coming up on Saturday afternoon. Today's a very big day. If Dillon Gabriel is able to go, then I think as long as he stays healthy during the entire performance, I think a lot of people are going to be thinking, okay, then we finally get to see Dillon Gabriel. Because I got to tell you, I was curious to see Shedeur Sanders. I was happy to see him. I'm extremely curious to see Dillon Gabriel. And the point is that, guys, I'll be honest with you, 90% of the time I disagree with Daryl on a lot of things. It's just that way. I love Daryl. I disagree with Lima about almost 100% of the things, and I love Lima. Daryl has had nothing great to say about Dillon Gabriel as a quarterback. Zach, who I find it hard to disagree with, but I want to disagree with all the time. He just ends up being right so many times over the last time. And I've known Zach since longer than this station has existed. I want to disagree with him. And I can't find him saying anything good about Dillon Gabriel as a quarterback. So, boy, I'm worked up about Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I want to see Dillon Gabriel, and I do want to see him succeed because, damn it, I want to feel a hell of a lot better about this. I felt better about it after Shedeur Sanders. And I want to feel better about it after Dillon Gabriel going, all right, these guys actually know what the hell they're looking at here. Because, yeah, guys, I'll tell you, I'm excited and exuberant over that performance last Friday. It's Wednesday. It's time to turn the page. I was excited over it. But, yeah, I know it's one preseason game. Everybody and their brother has basically tortured me into the point like this is a Clockwork Orange of me knowing that it's one preseason game. And I know that we've had plenty of guys have one good preseason game and go on and suck up the room for the rest of their Browns careers. And that is very well on the deck for any one of these quarterbacks in the now, in the future, anywhere. I get that. But damn it, man, I at least want to see something out of them that looks decent. Because nobody, except for Lance Reisland, who's been sort of nice, has said anything good about his performance. And it gives me a terrible feeling about the organization. Because now, after that preseason game and after 3 weeks of practice, I go, what is he doing here? What exactly is the role? You drafted the guy because he has a high floor so he could beat Colt McCoy. Why did you draft a guy in the third round when you're a team that's devoid of talent, that you need guys that you could possibly develop? Why did you take a guy that's a one-position guy where you can't play two quarterbacks? You have to play just one quarterback. Why would you take a guy at that spot so you could turn him into trade value? Do we understand how crazy that seems? You're taking a guy in the third round, coming off your sixth year. You're going into year 6, I should say. So you're coming off your 5th year. You are going into year 6. You were 3-14 last year. And we're taking guys in the third round to turn them into values later on. That's Joe Banner territory when he first got here. Now, that's a strong thing to say, but that is what that reminds me of. Difference is, I do have respect for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski in the front office of the Cleveland Browns. Now, I have zero respect for Joe Banner. So there is a difference there, but I don't want to have to make that comparison. And so I really want Dillon Gabriel to look like a competent quarterback.
Yeah, the funny thing is we're sitting here talking about Saturday, and I think the bigger week for the Browns in terms of getting them ready for the actual season is going to be the practices, the 2 joint practices that we're going to have reporters there, obviously, but I don't know how much video we're going to have from all of that. And me and you were sitting here excited, like we're there's going to be watch parties or there are going to be people going to the bars or whatever for Saturday. And why? To see Shedeur. I mean, it's all about Shedeur, but the real stuff that I think they're going to dwell on the most, or the stuff that's going to be, the most important takeaways, I think they might end up being from the joint practices, because you've got the Super Bowl champs. Mm-hmm. You've got the way to measure your team and to see where you really are. And we've done this in the past with Philadelphia, and we haven't exactly loved, I think, the feeling walking away from it. The coaches have had a lot of work to do, following that. So, me and you are talking Shedeur, Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur, Dillon Gabriel. But are they really thinking about Joe Flacco? And, unfortunately, the Pickett thing has been the injury that has cost him a chance, realistically, to win this job.
Because while you and I got in a big fight about what Albert Breer had to say about what the rest of the league was saying about Friday night's performance, He did have a snippet in there about, hey, this is basically Joe Flacco's job right now. This is, oh, no, we don't have that just yet. We got it now. Here's Albert Breer number 4. This is Albert Breer talking about on Afternoon Drive. I snuck up on you here on Afternoon Drive about how this is Joe Flacco's job, and it was Joe Flacco's job from the start.
In my mind, I don't have a ton of question over who the starter is going to be. It's felt like this was going to be Joe from the start, that Joe, obviously wasn't subject to the competition in the spring the way the other guys were. I think you look at the front end of their schedule, and it's pretty obvious what we're looking at, which is a potentially really rough start. So, I think having a steady presence, a guy who knows the offense, a guy who can put the other guys in the best position to succeed early in the season is going to be paramount. I think Kenny had a shot to get there, but I think with all the reps he's losing, his road to the starting job gets more and more narrow, and I just don't think the rookies are close right now.
So straight up and down, this is starting to break the way I wanted it to break. I wanted Joe Flacco to start the season. I thought it would be I know Kenny Pickett did everything he could to be a veteran presence, leader, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted Joe Flacco to start the season. I think he was the easiest guy for the veterans to buy in with. I at least would like to attempt to start the season off on the right foot before we go into, hey, we got to see what we got mode. And I thought Joe Flacco was that guy. So while I don't want to be excited about injury, and I'm not excited about injury, at least it keeps us from making crazy decisions. And we may very well see it, and it brings back the conversation about them keeping 4 quarterbacks, because we may very well see Kenny Pickett second. We may very well see either Shedeur or Dillon Gabriel or vice versa third coming up in this order. 216-474-0092. Tony in Mansfield, you've been patient. You're next up on the Fan. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing well, Tony. Go right on ahead, friend.
Yeah, my comment was just on the Shedeur issue with us overreacting as Browns fans and the rest of the league. I just think we're not overreacting. I think we're reacting to his value as a draft pick, right? In the beginning it was, his interviews didn't go well. And as a Browns fan, and now we're not talking about on the field, but as far as our franchise guy, not saying he is, but the way he's handled himself outside of, the line, he's been a complete pro and a complete, Cleveland guy, in the community, the way he's answered interviews. So he kind of proved what people were saying about him pre-draft process wrong, and he's kind of answered and talked and said everything the right way. And then I think as a 5th-round pick, we look at what he did and what a lot of the league was thinking he was going to do in week 1. Yes, it's a preseason game, but he looked competent. I don't care if it was against air. At least it was against guys with pads on in the opposite team, and I thought he handled himself really good and competent. Now, yes, it is only one preseason game, but he's doing what we want him to do at the steps he's doing it. I mean, hopefully he gets better, and patiently we know Joe Flacco is going to be our starting quarterback. And, Ken, I agreed with you with what you said about how, the rest of the league probably doesn't want him to do good. It's not like a conspiracy against him, but it's like he went in the 5th round. He's obviously not a 5th-round talent. Is he a franchise quarterback? We don't know yet. But so far, he's proving people wrong as far as everything they've said about him, whether that's on or off the field. So I like him. But like you said, Ken, we need to see Dillon Gabriel. I really want to see what he's got. Hopefully that I don't want him to be better, but hopefully he's better than Shedeur, because, that at least shows competence in our organization. You guys have a wonderful week. Go Browns.
Tony, thank you very much for the call. You could see a scenario here, and
it's funny. Will people give them credit if they land Shedeur in the 5th round? He said, "Oh, it lends credence that it's gonna restore confidence in the organization." Well, it seems like when you take Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, I've seen a lot of people say they lucked their way into this. That's not necessarily competence.
I'll take luck.
Yeah, hell yeah. I almost said something else,
but
hell yeah, you will.
I'll take luck
every time.
But you could see if Dillon does play well, then there will be a conversation later in the year, not to start the year. Joe's your starter. And I will admit, if Kenny is back and healthy at all, maybe Kenny takes over second if we were going to do this. But then you go, okay, what do I do with the 2 young ones? What's the ceiling on both these guys? Can Shedeur get caught up with the offense? Because that's all we hear about, guys, is how he's got to still learn the offense. He's got to do this, that, and the other with the offense. Okay. Can Shedeur get caught up with the offense where we can start to see the ceiling? And if we can see the ceiling, then you have a conversation between him and Dillon Gabriel. And with those 4 guys, when do they play and how much do they play as we were to start to turn the page towards 2026? But I'm sure that we will be, hate to say it, I think we'll be distracted with probably the lack of winning, and that will lead to distrust. Anytime you don't win, there's a distrust. And if you're not winning, that means that other guys and other parts of the team aren't doing well. And, well, who picked those guys? Who coaches those guys? So this is just the beginning of it. So I don't want to say that we're just wasting our time with Dillon Gabriel. No, I think far from it. I think that he proves or disproves what this organization is. If he is terrible, just outrageously terrible, you can say, well, it's just one preseason game. That's the second preseason game, even though he didn't get to play in the first one. And then you'll start to look at what's going to happen in the third preseason game if he gets to play in that. Because people will draw conclusions, especially about him. Because when you've only heard bad things, they're going to start to draw conclusions about that front office. It's a big game coming up on Saturday if he's able to go. We will find out more coming up from Kevin Stefanski live at 9:30 this morning. Make sure you're listening. That's your training camp report.